Hello and welcome to my channel and my presentation on Edvard Grieg. I'm Tristan Andrew. Here we will cover not only Peer Gynt, but also some of Grieg's other holiday works. Let me show them to you. Norway's most famous composer, Edvard Grieg, from 1843 to 1907, dedicated his career to the pursuit of a national sound. The respect he had for his predecessors illustrates the sincerity with which he worked towards this goal. He wrote in the Romantic tradition with, in his own words, the determination to create a national form of music which could give the Norwegian people an identity. Grieg's use and development of Norwegian folk music brought the music of Norway to international consciousness and helped develop a national identity, much as Jean Sibelius did in Finland and Bedřich Smetana in Bohemia. It is this focus on the local, the music of the people, that was revolutionary. For many, art music had been thought of as universal and rested on the works of great, primarily German masters like Richard Wagner. But composers such as Grieg, along with Smetana and Dvorak in Bohemia, and Finland's Sibelius, and the avalanche of Russian composers, rejected the dominance of universal music in the interests of promoting their own cultural heritage to brilliant effect. Peer Gynt is perhaps the best known example of Grieg's genius at creating Norway's specific art music sound. Generally, when we think of classical music, what is more accurately termed art music, holiday music does not come to mind. And yet, the reality is that art music serves a large variety of purposes. Western art music originated in religious ritual, expanded in courtly entertainment, such as dance and opera, then moved into growing middle classes with concert hall and stage productions. In our own time, art music has become a staple of the cinema. It should come as no surprise to find art music as an important element in holiday celebrations. My own interest has been focused on associating art music with the holidays of Christmas, Halloween, Earth Day, and Easter. I am happy to say that some of Grieg's music fits right in. Earth Day itself is one of the most recently created holidays to receive international recognition in the late 20th century. But of course, nature has been the subject matter of composers as early as the 17th century, if not before. An obvious example includes Antonio Vivaldi's four concertos, The Four Seasons. The 19th century was blessed by the innovations of musical impressionists, starting with Franz Liszt and echoing brilliantly in Claude Debussy, Ottorino Respighi, etc. Of course, they built upon the works of Felix Mendelssohn, Frédéric Chopin, and even Ludwig van Beethoven's Symphony No. 6, the Pastorale. So Grieg had a happy tradition to follow in his efforts to incorporate the beauty of Norway's landscapes and natural world along with its culture in his music. Grieg's 1865 concert overture, In Autumn, was inspired by Norwegian landscapes and thus can be linked to our stay. The overture takes the listener through a number of different sections, each showcasing a different highlight of autumn. Although seldom heard in the modern concert hall today, In Autumn is a great showcase of Grieg's orchestration skills. It begins in a sunny D major, with big orchestral chords sweeping across the score. The bright and light contrasting woodwind theme breaks the tension somewhat, although these two elements soon build together to create a slow burn of tension. A shift into D minor in the Allegro section marks a change in the overture. The bright melodies, bold brass, and overt percussion create drama and excitement as Grieg develops and passes the main theme through all sections of the orchestra. A shift into F major sees a second theme emerge through the woodwinds. The bombastic lower brass add a sense of frivolity to the music, as the contrasting string section to come brings the return of an early, more somber theme. Led here by the horns and strings, this quieter section is intricate and rooted firmly in Grieg's classic style. For a large proportion of the rest of the work, the music recaps themes previously heard. The themes start in different sections before being masterfully handed somewhere else. This shows Grieg's fantastic handling of the orchestra, which was something he was known for during his career. In Autumn comes to a brilliant close as the opening woodwind theme returns once more after the full orchestral forces have come to full fruition. With another natural contribution with The Last Spring from Grieg's Two Elegiac Melodies, Opus 34, an arrangement in two movements for string orchestra based on an earlier composition for voice and piano of words by the Norwegian poet and journalist Asmund Olavsson Vinje. Grieg completed the work in 1880 and first published it in 1881. It is scored for first violins, sometimes in two parts, second violins in two parts, violas in two parts, cellos, and double basses. The many parts allow for a thick texture when required. In Vigne's words, from Grieg's Opus 33, No. 2, the poet describes the beauty of the countryside in spring, appearing after the snow of winter. He thinks he might be seeing it for the last time. The music is in G major. There are two verses. In both, the melody is played by the first violins. The orchestration of the second verse is more developed, starting with the violins, in four parts, in high register. The rest of the strings gradually join in during the verse, until a thick texture is heard from the full string orchestra towards the end. When I was young and first learning about Western art music, I was introduced to Grieg's Peer Gynt by Disney's Little Einsteins productions. This series used segments from the Peer Gynt suites in 5 separate episodes: I Love to Conduct, Dragon Kite, A Little Einstein's Halloween, The Good Night and the Bad Night, and The Secret Mystery Prize. Starting in 2005, an indication of the enormous popularity the work enjoyed even today, 129 years after it was originally composed. Neither Grieg nor Disney necessarily had Halloween in mind with Peer Gynt, but that is exactly where I think it belongs. The first suite from 1888 is explicitly filled with supernatural creatures that have a home in Halloween. Grieg's 1875 Peer Gynt was written as incidental music to Henrik Ibsen's 1867 play of the same name. It premiered along with the play on February 24th, 1876, in what is now Oslo, and later published independently as suites in 1888 and 1891. Ibsen's 5-act drama concerns a young Norwegian ruffian named Peer Gynt, who dreams of becoming emperor of the world. His sundry adventures, abducting a bride-to-be, Ingrid, during her wedding, abandoning her for another woman, Solvig, being tormented by gnomes and trolls, posturing as a prophet among the Arabs, eloping with and being subsequently double-crossed by an Arab princess, Anitra, and finally returning to Norway, are the stuff of a high drama and adventure, and are rough and isolated in a way that is peculiarly Nordic. Grieg captures this tone perfectly. The first suite from 1888 contains the most popular numbers and was featured in the Little Einsteins episodes. These include In the Hall of the Mountain King, a textbook example of the dramatic potency of cumulative crescendo and accelerando, illustrating Grieg's fondness for Germanic orchestral effects, in which Peer Gynt bargains for his life after the assembled trolls call for his blood, the highly evocative Morning Mood, with its lovely flute solo and expansive orchestral language. The music depicts, incidentally, not a fresh Nordic sunrise, but rather a Saharan dawn in Act 4 of Ibsen's drama. The beguiling Anitra's dance and the poignant death of Asa are the other 2 movements. Of course, Disney uses this iconic music in storylines that retain their excitement while associating them with more memorable, child-friendly concepts. I still can't hear these works without remembering the Little Einsteins episodes. Grieg opens the first Peer Gynt suite with a piece called Morning Mood. Originally played at the beginning of the 4th act, a gentle E major theme is announced by the flutes and then the oboes against a static harmonic background that effectively emulates the stillness of the first moments of dawn. This lovely melody, an inverted arch shape, is taken through a sparkling palette of subtle harmonic inflections. Bright flute trills join the musical mixture as Morning Mood comes to a gentle close. Although Morning Mood is only 4 minutes long, Grieg manages to capture in music something both timeless and universal. In Little Einstein's I Love to Conduct, Morning Mood represents the bald eagle who mistakenly steals Leo's baton. It is the motif for a key to rescuing the good knight in The Good Knight and the Bad Knight. It also appears as the motif for the Palace of Versailles in A Little Einstein's Halloween, and the Torii Gates in The Secret Mystery Prize. Finally, it serves as part of the background to Dragon Kite. Morning Mood gives us the contrasting note of light that delightfully frames an otherwise Halloween-related suite. Asa's death, which follows, was intended to be played as a prelude to the third act. Peer Gynt has returned home to find his mother Asa, only to find that her days on earth have come to an end. Asa's death has but one tiny melodic fragment, set to an absolutely unchanging rhythm, and yet the score never grows tiresome. One late 19th century writer remarked that it was as if Grieg managed to convey not only the passing on of Peer Gynt's mother, but also the sad dying away of summer, and with it the sun in the rustic Northland. Like so much else in Peer Gynt, this segment powerfully evokes the Halloween-related concept of death, sorrow, and grief, but without any elements of fear or despair. Of course, the Disney artists needed to find other ways to use this iconic music. In A Little Einstein's Halloween, Disney artists played this segment as background for King Ludwig II's Neuschwanstein Castle in Bavaria, while it provides a musical reference to Mount St. Helens in I Love to Conduct. In Dragon Kite, the music represents the big yellow kites, and in The Good Knight and the Bad Knight, it provides a motif for the bad knight who locked the good knight with the tower key. after a single magical E major chord, Anitra's dance begins with a buoyant violin melody over a compelling pizzicato background. Our little theme is taken through several small harmonic adventures during the middle of the dance, including a warm and welcome, albeit brief, pass through D major. During the reprise of the opening section, Grieg allows for some melodic imitation by the cello. The minor key of the piece, as well as its skittering rhythms, allow us to include it as Halloween music evocative of night creatures. The dance appears as the Big Blue Kites motif in the Einsteins' Dragon Kite, and Buckingham Palace in Little Einstein's Halloween. We also hear it in the backgrounds of I Love to Conduct, The Good Night and the Bad Night, and The Secret Mystery Prize. The last and most famous movement in the Hall of the Mountain King written to accompany the trolls' taunting and chasing of Peer Gynt after he has refused to marry the daughter of the Mountain King, is perhaps the most famous of these four pieces in the suite. The music, built on just one small repetitive thematic fragment, grows wilder and wilder until it seems as though Peer Gynt and the poor orchestra can take it no more. It is like a whirlwind. Grieg himself wrote, "For the Hall of the Mountain King, I have written something that reeks of cowpats, ultra-Norwegianism. And to thyself be enoughness. I can't bear to hear it, though I hope that the irony will make itself felt." The theme of "to thyself be enough" is central to Peer Gynt's satire. Clearly, Grieg was more concerned about natural expression than whether his music was either beautiful or pleasing. This final movement appears as the prime melody in Dragon Kite, as the Kite Parade, with the Orange Emperor kite towards the end. A little Einstein's Halloween trick-or-treat motif, a race between the team and the bad knight to regain the tower key in The Good Knight and the Bad Knight, and the secret mystery prize motif for the key that opens the prize chest. Ibsen's commission to Grieg for incidental music of his mythology-inspired allegorical play was widely seen as one of the great works of musical nationalism, promoting Norwegian folk music. Through the imagination of painters and later animators, the work has gone on to represent a wide range of topics that would have confounded both Ibsen and Grieg himself. For me, Peer Gynt remains the classic anchor to my Halloween playlist. But it is not the only Grieg work I associate with Halloween. Grieg's March of the Trolls from Book 5 of his 1891 lyric pieces is usually associated with dwarfs, but those familiar with Norse mythology often insist that trolls are something quite different from dwarves. These puckish creatures are supposed to have a fat torso and can be physically formidable. Still, they are small and full of mischief and fun, and that is how Grieg depicts their character in this charming and thoroughly delightful piece. The main theme here is among the composer's best known, one of those melodies, probably recognizable to anyone. It is a lively creation whose brisk, descending manner and playful character convey both a comical busyness and a sense of fantasy. Grieg supplies only a basic, lively rhythm to underpin the melody, fully aware of the quick step march, one of those rare tunes that captures the essence of the work's title. In contrast, the middle section theme is lyrical and innocent, dreamy and sweet, as if the composer were depicting his little creatures as they slept. The main theme returns to close out this colorful little masterpiece. Performances of this work typically last 3.5 minutes. Trolls are a constant theme in Norse mythology and folklore, and can be viewed as the equivalent of our boogeyman. Far to the north in Norway, where the winter storms whip the weather-beaten coasts, you will find dark forests with moonlit lakes, deep fjords surrounded by mighty snow-capped mountains, and long rivers and cold streams cascading down the mountain sides. This is where you might find the irritable, short-tempered trolls coming out of their hiding places after sunset, marching to wreak havoc on unsuspecting Norwegian households. As you have seen, Edvard Grieg's brilliance as a composer demonstrates the critical role musical nationalism played in enriching art music beyond the traditional universal style. His ability to evoke Norwegian culture and landscapes in a musical style accessible to even non-art music lovers is extraordinary. What people don't always appreciate is how this music can also bring these Norse elements into less traditional venues, such as the celebration of various holidays. I hope you enjoyed Grieg's holiday music for Earth Day and Halloween. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, and most importantly, keep on listening.